Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Play Your Faves, the show where I take your favorite characters from TV, games, comics, whatever, and turn them into Adventures League legal character sheets for 5th edition D&D. This week, we're going to cover another suggestion from you guys. This, or not this week, this episode is Raiden from Mortal Kombat. So, without any further ado, so this is where we start. For those of you who don't know, Raiden is a character that's been around since the first Mortal Kombat game, and he is the god of thunder and protector of Earthrealm. And so I had a couple different ways to kind of go about creating this character, but the one that made the most sense to me was he's a fighting game character. Primarily what he does is punches and kicks and things like that. So Monk made the most sense to me for this particular character. And then using some feats, I'd be able to get some of his special attacks. So he kind of plays very similar to what you would see in Mortal Kombat. So first things first, the just stuff. Again, he's a 6th level monk. He's a human, which technically he's not, but I needed the human for the extra feat. He's a god in Mortal Kombat. I chose the Far Traveler background mostly because technically he does come from another realm to protect Earthrealm, so that kind of worked. And then Lawful Good, he's a real stickler to the rules, to the point where Mortal Kombat 10, he actually uses, or not 10, 9 technically, it's just called Mortal Kombat. He actually uses the rules to trick one of his opponents, I won't spoil it for you, and get the result he wanted by actually losing a fight. It was really ingenious, but he is very much a lawful character, very rules-focused, except for if you play the newest game, he does go through a very large character change. This version of him will be before that character change. So let's go to stats first. Monks are unique in the fact that while they do punching, which is normally a strength-based thing, they use dexterity to do it, and it makes sense for Mortal Kombat as well, because their punches are very quick, and you don't see too many characters that are really like super strong powerhouses. Most of it is a little more speed and control than just I hit things. Obviously, Shao Kahn, I would probably go full on strength for him. But so we put Dex as his highest stat. Now, because of how I had to build this character, I go a little different than I normally would. I have both intelligence and wisdom at 14, because monks use wisdom for their monk abilities that require saving throws, like their stunning strike. So you need to have a decent wisdom. It also factors into the armor classes. So that's very important. However, Raiden is a thunder god. He controls lightning and things like that. So I did have to dip into a little bit of wizard spells to give him his lightning abilities. So his intelligence is his 3rd highest stat, because that's what he used to cast his lightning abilities. Then we do constitution just to let him be able to be hit. And then strength. I put charisma as the lowest because he's not really a people person. He's good at protecting Earthrealm, but he tends to be very kind of not really gruff, but doesn't have a ton of emotion, and tends to use a lot more logic to convince people than like persuasion. So I gave him a low charisma score. And then stats, acrobatics, because again, he's jumping around like crazy. History, because he knows the history of the wars between the realms and everything. Insight, because he tends to read people relatively well. That's how he's able to pick champions for Earthrealm. And then perception, he's a god. He sees things pretty well. This is that monks get a bonus to speed, which kind of fits with his character. And then his things. The personality trait, all of this I just kind of made up except for this one, based on the things he does in the game. So he is very much a stickler for the Elder Gods rules. And he is very much the kind of epitome of almost a paladin mindset, very much lawful good. He fights to defend, not to end life or enact punishment or anything like that. And it actually gets him into trouble throughout the series, because by sparing lives, they come back and cause more damage. This is actually a quote from one of the games. And then his flaw is kind of fits into that, by showing restraint and mercy. He spared a few people that have come back and done and have attacked Earth, killed people. Like, it's pretty bad. So that's him. And then here are the class features. Now, one thing I want to mention, since the first Mortal Kombat game, Raiden has had 3 basic abilities, special moves that he would use. And as Mortal Kombat went on, they would modify it a little bit, or they'd add extra things to it. But for the most part, it's either 3 or 4, because one of them is kind of 2, depending on how you define it. But those 3 or and a throw that acts as a special move are... he has a teleport move where he teleports behind someone and attacks them. He has what's called his torpedo attack, where he just flies at someone and hits them. And then he has his lightning strike, where he'll actually shoot a bolt of lightning or a ball of lightning. And with that, he also has a hold that sometimes is considered a special move, sometimes not, called electrocute, where he literally just puts his hands like this and shoots lightning and kind of does that. So using the monk class features and some spells, I was actually able to create all of those. So first things first, most of the monk features are not going to factor specifically in, but they let you play the monk. One thing that does in Mortal Kombat, you do have a block ability, and so deflect missiles actually fits into that pretty well, where someone could shoot a projectile at you in the game, you could just and take less damage. Deflect missiles works exactly like that. So that's kind of your block. You also have slow fall in especially Mortal Kombat, I think 2 and 3. You could actually change levels of the stage in certain stage by like jumping or uppercutting someone through the roof or something. And they had versions of that in other games as well. So I just thought the slow fall, which lets the monk basically reduce fall damage by a significant amount, kind of fit with that idea of changing stage levels and stuff like that. And then the other thing we're going to talk about here before we get into the monastic tradition is this stunning strike. If you've ever played Mortal Kombat, whoever wins the second battle you will see the character you just beat sit there and go, and you'll hear, finish him. And then you can do a fatality. Well, I thought Stunning Strike actually fits that really well. It stops them from doing anything for a full turn. Makes it easier to hit them. In the fatalities, you actually don't even have to hit them. You hit a button combination, and it does something cool. Yeah, I just thought that kind of fit with the whole finish him thing. And I do have a fatality later on to talk about as well. So now we need to start getting into how do you do his special attacks. These are as iconic as, Ryu's Fireball. This is defining things for Raiden. So the first one, I went Way of Shadow specifically because at level 6, you get basically an at-will teleportation spell. Now, you need to be in dim light or darkness, so it won't work in a middle of a field on a bright day. But as long as there are shadows anywhere, you can use Shadow Step to teleport anywhere you can see in shadow within 60 feet. So this works perfectly as the teleport ability. If you've ever played, especially the more modern ones, what Raiden does is he actually either jumps up or goes down and then just appears behind his opponent. And you can spam it a lot, to be perfectly honest. I've seen a lot of people with quite a few different characters with teleportations where they'll sit there, teleport, do a few punches or kicks, teleport again, do a few more, and just use that to keep their opponent off balance. And you 100% can do that with this build. Next, this is a feat I don't think enough people use, because it's a really interesting feat. It actually replicates an ability you could do back in 4th edition, and they had a version of it in 3rd edition as well. But that's the charge attack. In 5th edition, there isn't a basic charge attack like there was in a couple previous, but you can take the charger feat, and what it means is if you take the dash action and move at least 10 feet in a straight line, not hard, you can perform an attack at the end. Now, with a monk, and you do that as a bonus action. Now, with a monk, your bonus action is very important. You use it for flurry of blows, you use it for your offhand attack, your patient defense. It's a very useful thing. So, as a monk, this is kind of a, your mileage may vary, but the fact that monks get increased speed just at level 6 with the charger feat, you can hit an opponent with a melee attack from 90 feet away with charger. So it does add a lot to the mobility aspect of the monk. And if at a later level you were to take the mobile feat, that basically says if you hit someone or if you attack someone, even if you don't hit with a melee attack, they can't take opportunity attacks at you. So combine that with the charger, dash in, hit them with the charge attack, and then run away. With the monk, you have so much movement. So that could be really cool. The other thing with charger is it allows you to either make an attack as a bonus action, and if you hit, you add 5 damage to your attack, which is pretty decent. If you're using a staff, which Raiden uses in some of the later games, you can do a 1d8 plus 3 on this particular example, damage plus an additional 5 by just running and diving into them, which is what the torpedo attack is, basically. And when you get to higher levels, the monk damage die gets up to, I believe it's a D12 maximum. So that's like hitting them with a great axe. And then adding 5 to it just for running. Really useful. The other thing you can do, and this fits into the torpedo attack as well, is instead of damaging them, you can just push them back. Now, that does take a strength athletics check, which his strength isn't great, and he's not trained in athletics, so that one's not going to hit quite as often, but it does allow you to push him back 10 feet, which is a pretty decent thing. A lot of people undervalue the benefits of just controlling where your enemies are on the battlefield. You know, put a bunch of them together and then hit them with a fireball. Push them off of cliffs, or push them in the way of allies to make it harder for them to hit. Things like that. So, kind of cool, and it fits. The last two, like I said, are lightning. I do have his background. I didn't go into too much detail, just because for a fighting game, there's a lot of lore in Mortal Kombat. So this is a bare bones version of it. And then, again, we took the Magic and Initiate Feat Wizard. I forgot to mention up there, but you saw it. To give him a couple spells to simulate his lightning powers. So Minor Illusion comes from his monk ways. That doesn't matter for this one. But we have Lightning Lure, which is from the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. It's a Blade Singer spell. So that's your +1 for this. And what it is you shoot a bolt of lightning. You can actually pull them towards you. Now, he doesn't have like a pull attack in the games with his lightning. However, this to me was the best example of his lightning abilities, was just casting a bolt of lightning at an enemy that's far away. And then Shocking Grasp would be his electrocute grab attack, and it actually works very similar. You grab them with Shocking Grasp, you grab them, you shock them, and with Shocking Grasp it prevents them from making opportunity attacks afterwards. So yeah, it does kind of fit into that. And then for a fatality, you can do Witch Bolt. Witch Bolt is literally you shoot a bolt of lightning, and it sticks to the target and lets you just continue pumping them full of lightning every turn. Which his electrocution finisher is literally that. He shoots them with lightning and just fills them with lightning until their body explodes. Yeah, and then these are the abilities he gets with the Shadow Monk stuff. I didn't really have a use for those in the Raiden thing, but they're on there because they are a part of the character. So yeah, that's really Raiden in a nutshell. Like I've said before, this is an AL legal character. If you want to play him in the in this season, which will be ending in September, or next season, where you have to make a brand new character, just start as a monk at level 1. For human, you can kind of decide which special attack you want to start with. If you start with your first feat being Magic Initiate, that gives you the lightning abilities. If your first feat is Charger, that gives you the torpedo attack, which is actually kind of like Mortal Kombat 10, where you get to pick their fighting style and it changes their special moves a little bit. But other than that, just go with it. I did pick other things that. So you literally can just take this character sheet if you have DM experience. and just make him. But yeah, that's it. In the comments below, let me know first if you have another idea about how to make Raiden. Like I said, I went with Monk because it made sense for a fighting game. But there are a lot of other ways you could have gone with this, and I'm interested to see which ones you wanted to go with. Second, what character do you want to see me do next? Every single character I've done thus far has been from suggestions from you guys. So if you want this series to keep going on, keep giving me characters, and they can literally be from anywhere. Books, comics, TV, movies, whatever you want. The more obscure and interesting they are, the more fun I have here. As always, there'll be a link in the description to download the character sheet yourself from my Patreon, so feel free to do that. Otherwise, that's all for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.